Geoff, welcome back to Perth. It's fabulous to have you join us again and at Lake Karrinyup, which I know that you have quite the connection with. How's the course looking?
It's great. Actually, I haven't hit any shots on the golf course yet, but I've had a look. It looks great. The greens, which was kind of the inspiration to do some more work here, was an agronomic reason, I guess, to get the greens better. And the greens look immaculate. The surfaces are great. And then, as always, when you take the lid off a project, you do something like the greens, then there's an opportunity to do other work, and the bunkers came along and a couple of trees to help grow the grass and the greens and stuff. So it's just a immaculately conditioned, better version of what we've always seen at Karrinyup. I think it's great.
And I know that you're quite the AFL fan, and last night we were at Optus Stadium and you were hitting some balls from in the stands down onto the ground. Something a little bit different to what you would usually do in a football stadium?
Yeah, it was great fun. Usually I'm watching St Kilda struggle a little bit. But what a stadium, yeah. I was very impressed when we had, when Docklands got built in Melbourne. That's a pretty amazing kind of state-of-the-art place, but this seems to take it to a whole nother level. 10 or 15 years newer and really polished, really clean. Obviously a great atmosphere in there when it's a game, so maybe the Saints come over and play. Maybe not West Coast, I don't know if we'll beat them, but we might have a chance against Freo, so maybe I'll come over to that game and have a look.
Questions? Sorry, if we can just use the microphone. Thank you.
Geoff, you mentioned last night just quickly that the inspiration behind the bunkering changes, and that can talk us through, I guess, the Alex Russell notes that you guys sort of uncovered and how that led to the changes here?
Yeah, Michael Cocking, I think, or someone at the club, but I think it was Michael. They came across a specific kind of quote, I think, from Russell, and I can't remember exactly what the quote is, but it was about be sure as Karrinyup evolves to keep the bunkers, kind of keep it the rugged kind of West Australian style, and he had some pictures and stuff to reference. So, and they'd got a bit round and sanitised away from Russell's kind of vision, I guess. So that was part of the inspiration too. So it's, you wouldn't say restoration, but kind of sympathetic to the original concept and idea of Karrinyup, was to kind of bring that sort of idea back. So that's why they're a little bit more rugged and a little bit rough, because that's kind of what Russell was envisioning with this place. So it was an opportunity to do that.
What do you remember of the golf course from, I think, 4 years ago when you were last here?
I've been coming here for probably 20-something years. The first thing that ever stood out at me was dogleg lefts off the tee. You had to be a good drawer of the ball, which I was when I was a kid, so it fit my eye really well. But just you're often hitting off an unlevel lie, which is often difficult for good players, for all players really. I think it's an Augusta type mentality when you're hitting from above your feet, below your feet, downhill, the big elevation changes. And it's such a beautiful environment. It's just got the kangaroos. It feels like this is what Western Australia looked like before we messed it up. You know what I mean? It's very kind of untouched feel, Karrinyup, but maintained down the middle. And I think that's a really good feel. Obviously the Great Lake in the middle, and the kangaroos and the grass trees, and it's just a great feeling property and a place you just want to keep coming to play golf. And there's some quite dramatic shots, you know, because you're coming down hills to some of these greens, and it's quite a spectacular place too in spots. So, you run out of praise, and it's just a great place to play golf.
You've often talked about how you get energised, I guess, by playing a good golf course. 13th Beach now this week. Is this why you sort of came home to play this, our best Australian courses a bit more often?
That's not the reason I came home, but it's an added bonus for sure. I definitely got a bit jaded with that US tour. The typical US tour setup is very similar every week, and it's great. And the PGA Tour is an incredible tour and it's an unbelievable product, but it just didn't inspire me anymore. Like I wasn't getting there excited to see these golf courses. Every now and then you get some really amazing ones on that tour, but generally the setups I didn't really enjoy. So an added bonus to being here is being able to come and play more tournaments on courses that I enjoy. Yeah, and this is one of those examples. And last week was great fun.
Do you expect to compete this week? Where's your game at?
It was almost really good last week. I played great on Thursday. I thought I played quite well on Saturday in a pretty good wind. I played awful on Sunday. I felt like I had a bit of a migraine or something was going weird, but it's all there. It's not a matter of not knowing what I'm doing. It's just, do I have enough kind of miles in the legs? Does that make sense, to use a running metaphor? Maybe just need to have a few more scorecard rounds in my pocket to be really sharp at the scoring thing, but physically it feels great. And match play is one of those things. I feel like if I can get to the match play, 6 holes in match play, I'm not sure how that's going to feel because it's very quick. But match play's always been one of my favourite forms of the game. You kind of throw the scorecard out, you're just like, it's me and you, let's go. I really, really, really enjoy that. So I feel like if I get to that, I'm as much chance as anyone else in the top 24. But it's an interesting tournament in that you kind of want to win after the first 3 rounds, but really it's about making the match play because I know there's a bye, right? Does the first 8 get a bye? Is that right?
Correct.
So there's clearly an advantage to getting a round off, but maybe there isn't sometimes in match play, right? You get that first round, you get used to the 6-hole match before these guys have the morning off. Maybe it's different, but that's a long answer to say. I think if I play well, I can do okay. But the goal would be to make the match play and see what happens.
Can I just ask about Lucas Herbert? Obviously, a young Victorian guy coming through now. His first full year out in Europe. Have you spent any time with him since you've been home at all, or do you think there's anything to pass on to him in terms of a bit of guidance and mentorship?
He's doing a pretty good job. He's one of the young Australians. I think he's doing it right, going through Europe first and learning the craft of the game. You know, that's the most important part of this job, I think. It's just learning the craft of professional golf, which is more than just good numbers on a TrackMan, you know. And he's doing a really good job at that. So part of being here, one of the things I would love to do when I'm at home is just play golf with all these guys, just practice with these guys and play with an ulterior motive that it'll help me get better too, I think. And it'll help them. And if they can learn anything from me, either just by watching or any advice they ask or anything like that, that'd be great. I mean, I feel like we don't owe it, I don't think, but it's a nice thing if each generation can keep kind of helping the generation before. We've got so many successful golfers over the last 20 or 30 or 40 years that there's a lot of experience and wealth of knowledge there that might not have been farmed quite as well in the past. So it'll be great to spend a bit more time with these guys because you play the PGA Tour, you're in a bubble and that's where you are, and you don't really get in contact with kind of the developing golfers. So that'll be a nice little side bonus to being at home as well. You know, play a bit more with these guys.
Just to the side here.
Just from a parochial point of view, Min Woo is one player. Do you know much about him? He sort of jumped onto the scene.
I've followed his. I love his golf swing. I'm a bit of a tragic for techniques and swings on the internet, so I always, when he's got one up there, I look at it because it's very impressive. Clearly, gifted golf family. Yeah, he's got all the tools. As I said, if he can take all these tools and learn the craft of the game a little bit, there's no reason why he's not a top 10 player in the world. I mean, he really looks that good. So it's, as I said, learning the craft. You develop scar tissue as a professional golfer as you go along because bad things happen, right? Unlucky things happen, and it's a tough sport to play. So if you can kind of have more good things and more bad things happen along, you kind of beat the scar tissue thing, and then you learn the craft along the way, and he'll get in a big tournament one day and go win a big tournament, and then you're away, you know. So he's got every chance.
You said that you'd like to pass on your knowledge. Do you then seek them out, or are you waiting for them to come to you?
A bit of both. The last few weeks has been pretty good. Last week and this week, kind of either reconnecting with some of these kids or meeting them for the first time. There'll be a bit of both, I think. I would just, not just me, it's all the guys. Like, it's the Frasers and the Peter O'Malley's and the Mike Claytons and the whole bunch of the guys. None of us know everything, but we all know a little bit, you know, and like collectively that knowledge would be a real bonus for these kids. It would be a step forward, an advantage. And just being around guys who have done it, I think, helps. When I got to play with experienced guys when I was young, whether they tell you anything or not, you just learn just by being around them and watching them, how they go about things. It would be great to see the Aussie pros who have had success come back and just be a part of the whole thing. I don't know what, I mean, no one has to take a very active role. Let's just be a part of it and answer the phone when these kids call and, hey, do you want to go play golf and all that sort of stuff. And I think it could really, really it'd be beneficial. And as I said, there's an ulterior motive. I think it would really, really help me play well because I think there's certain technical aspects and physical aspects these kids have got way more worked out than we ever had. The sports science has been better recently in that aspect. They understand the golf swing and the technique up and down. But we know how to apply that to winning tournaments, you know. So then there's a gap there for sure. So maybe we can each learn off each other.
Trying to get those Aussie golfers back. Have you got a theory on trying to get your Jason Days back to play here in Australia?
Well, I mean, these are complicated economic issues, and each player is a different situation. Jason has an incredible family set up in Ohio, which is a long way from Australia. Clearly wants to play Australia, but he's got a fragile body and he has a limited amount of tournaments he can play every year, and big tax and long distance and tough time of the year, and there's a lot of, we're going into the wind a little bit on a lot of these factors. But I think creating great events, when you have great events, people come. You know, when all the players all came back from this little leg and they went in the locker room next week and they're like, oh my God, the Vic Open and the Super 6 in Perth, you can't miss those. They're incredible. They're great. Have they got any money? It's getting there, but those are unbelievable tournaments. You want to be involved. That's what makes people come. Like, it really does. The US Masters, it doesn't matter who plays the Masters. I know I'm talking, this is A+, but no, it doesn't matter who plays. The Masters is the Masters. It's bigger than the players in the field. And the Australian Open tennis is similar. You know, Melbourne Cup, no one cares what horses are running. They just want to go to the Melbourne Cup. Grand final, doesn't matter who's in it. It's the grand final. I think we need to approach golf tournaments like that, create great events, and then the players and the money will come. You know, we're never going to have the budget to pay the appearance fees that these kids want. It's too much. The Middle East and China and Asia pay so much money in appearance fees that an extra 6 or 7 hours on the plane for less money, they're just not going to come, right? So you've got to have another reason for them to come, and this is the place to be in golf that week. You've got to be there. You know, I think that's the direction we should take, because we're never going to do it money-wise, I don't think.
Have they done that with this event, Geoff, do you think?
I think last week's doing a great job, and I think this week's doing a really good job, 100%. Certainly when you play in Perth, you need more than one event in a row in Australia for these Europeans. It's a long way to come for 1 week. You have 2 or 3 in a row like we do here, and Perth's kind of on the way home for them a little bit, and that kind of logistically works. I think so, for sure. I think it'd be nice to see the Open and the PGA and everything all stacked up next to each other, have a nice little swing, and but yeah, I think this tournament does a great job. Yeah.
Because it's in the last year of its initial contract, so you would be endorsing it continuing?
For sure. I mean, look, I haven't felt what it's like, the format and how it kind of unfolds, but the guys who have played it have loved it. I think it's a really cool, exciting thing. I think there's plenty of room in golf for different stuff than 72-hole stroke play. Pure match play tournaments don't seem to work commercially because half the field's gone every day. But this is kind of that happy medium, and the traditionalists are happy because we're playing stroke play for 3 days, and then the 2020 crowd is happy because we're playing the 6-hole match play. I think interesting formats is another reason of good event that will get people there. Interesting formats, I think. So I hope they can work it out to keep it going, because I think it's a good idea and a good thing.
You spoke about the Australian Open field, of course, famously last year, but we've had some great players here over the years, but this is probably, you know, in terms of top-ranked players, not one of the greatest fields we've had. Is that a concern, do you think? Or, as you said, like, it's going to take time?
I think there's been too much of a focus on which players are at which tournament. And I know that kind of moves the needle with people. But it doesn't make real sense to spend a mega budget for 1 year, get everyone in for 1 week, and then they never come back. I think these things are great when they build and they grow. You know, this is probably a better tournament in Perth this year than it was last year, and it was better last year than it was the year before, because it grows and it builds and people understand it. And it's the economic reality is it's very difficult to get top 10, 15 players in the world to go anywhere outside of their home tour. So you just do the best you can. As I said, run great events. And hope they come, I guess.
When did you move back home, and how's it been so far?
We got back we left New Year's Eve, the US, so we landed in January. So it's been great. I mean, really, I haven't had the smile off my face for a month and a half. It's been a long time. I mean, I loved living in the US and I loved playing there, and I'll still play there a bit, I'm sure. But happy to have the family back in Australia and kind of amongst your people, you know. I mean, I love it in America and I love it here. It's just, this is home, you know. So, and I wanted my kids to experience a little bit what I had. And my wife was always pretty interested in moving here. She's from America too, so yeah, pretty exciting time.
Yeah, and then tournament-wise, the year ahead, what does it look like for you?
I'm not sure. I'm playing New Zealand in 2 weeks after this. And then it's just going to be, I'm not sure. I have nothing really set in stone. I think I'm going to play in New Orleans this year for sure, because there's a President's Cup connection. It's a team event and we're all going to go, everyone involved with the President's Cup. US Open, I'm not in, but I'm going to try to go qualify and play around that period in the US. And then I'm not sure after that. We'll see. Whether I move more down the architecture direction and just play part-time golf, or I just kind of need a year off and then get back into full-time golf, I'm not really sure yet. I just want to do the school run and the footy coaching and all that sort of stuff, you know, go to see the Saints play a little bit, be Australian for a while and play golf selectively and work on the game. As I said, I want to play golf every day. I've never been more motivated to be a good golfer, but I've never been less motivated to run around with a suitcase and go to strange places and leave the family. So it's an interesting period, and I'm just day by day. We'll just see. I'll wake up tomorrow and I might have a different idea.
And at what point last year did you realise that you didn't want to be on that tour anymore?
Well, I didn't want to be August, kind of, I'd missed my third cut in a row and I wasn't sad about it. That was a bad situation. I'd always been completely apocalyptic, is that how you say the word? When I missed a cut, just completely you couldn't come near me. I couldn't handle it. And this year in the middle of the year, or last year in the middle of the year, I just was missing. I'm like, oh God, I get to go home. Like, there's just no sadness at all. I wasn't not trying, but it was like, oh cool, I get to go home. And that's like, no, this is not right. I did that 3 weeks in a row. I'm like, you know, take a bit of time off until you really, really, really want to be out here. I didn't like how I was playing. I didn't like leaving home on Monday mornings. If I was playing great, I would have tolerated it, I think. But I just was kind of ready for a break. 20 years is a long time to be doing something like that, something like this. So, as I said, it's just a bit of a time out, while still playing a lot of golf, just less travelling and less kind of banging my head up against the wall on Misery Hill every Thursday afternoon or the putting green or something, and enjoy the game of golf again. And I'm sure I'll get to the point in a few months' time where I'll be just itching to go play somewhere. So we'll see.
So do you think you'll ever go back full time, or is this the kind of start of the next chapter?
It's probably the start of the next chapter. I have a hard time seeing myself be a 25-a-year guy again. I don't know. It depends. As it stands right now, I'd be surprised if I was a full-time guy again. But you never know. You know what I mean? It's a pretty good job. I like what I do, and I feel like I'm pretty decent at it when I'm doing it well. So, and it's a satisfying thing to do well, but it's an incredibly frustrating thing to do poorly. So as you have some ups and downs that are probably a bit more severe than most people's ups and downs, with their work life at least. So at this point, I don't know. I would say not, but I'll always play, and I would think 10, 12, 15 a year would be pretty a reasonable guess at what's going on. Where they are, I'm not sure.
Oh, Tony?
Geoff, have you sorted out your partner for New Orleans?
Well, I'm going to do what Ernie tells me to do. We've got some emails and WhatsApps and stuff going around about kind of pairings and stuff to try out at New Orleans, because it's such a great opportunity, because we never get to play best ball or foursomes, right? You do it in practice, but it's not the same. That's a real tournament, 2 best balls and 2 foursomes. So we know the pairings at work, try a few different ones, be flying a little bit less kind of by the seat of your pants during the week of the President's Cup, because we'd have a little bit of a measure from New Orleans. So, and a bonding week. We're all going to get in the same hotel in the same sort of area and we'll go. I mean, New Orleans is a good week to eat and drink and be merry and enjoy company and stuff. So I will probably play with one of the assistants who you guys don't know who they are yet, or Ernie. So that'll be fun. It'll be really fun.
What do you make of Ernie's approach, and obviously that, I guess, element to it? You sense an extra urgency in this prep?
Every one of them has been like that, because we've known we have to win this tournament. But Ernie and I were both assistants in New York last time, and we were talking a lot about what we're going to do next time, and it wasn't anything about different from Pricey. It was just ideas that he's picked up. He's played every President's Cup until the last one, Ernie. I don't know how many that is, 12 or 13 or something. Using the experienced guys like Scotty a little bit more to put their 2 cents in. I think he's great. Ernie's maybe the best match player in the world at the moment, living match player probably. I mean, he won 5 or 6 match plays at Wentworth. And incredible player, always used to win in the President's Cup. So he's clearly a great understanding of what it takes to win match play. A more competitive guy than I've ever met. Ernie Els is hyper competitive, so he's very motivated. He's been very active on as I said, the emails and the messages, and he's leaving no stone unturned. I'll say it that way. I think he'll be a great captain.
On the other side, is Tiger being a playing captain an advantage for the internationals?
Could be. I don't know. That's a weird thing. They talk about that happening every time, and it never really comes to fruition, right? The captain always ends up not making it or not going. I think Tiger will make it. It looks that way at the moment, and his competitive drive is such that he wouldn't be able to leave it alone. He'd want to do it. But they're all playing the week before in the Bahamas, that's an advantage for us if they're coming from 13 time zones across or whatever that is to 2 days before the tournament starts or 3 days before. I mean, that's a massive advantage for us, I would think. So they will have enough. They let us have so many assistants and so many carts and so many keys and so many everything at that tournament that I don't think it would be too big a distraction to have your captain teeing it up, I don't think. Because really, the captain doesn't do anything while they're out on the golf course. Not really. They do a little bit of putting teams in and stuff, but the assistants could take care of that. So I don't think him playing would be a disadvantage. It might actually be an inspiration for the younger Americans in their team. But the logistics of flying from the Bahamas to Melbourne, Sunday from the Bahamas and trying to play on Thursday in Melbourne, that's a big trip.
Just a final question, Geoff.
Yeah,
does have to get to the Pro-Am.
Were you there in '98?
That was a month or so after I turned pro, and I missed the cut in the New Zealand Open in Formosa. I don't know why I remember this. And I flew back and watched the weekend. 98, that was great. That was brilliant. Yeah, so that'd be nice to do that again. That looked fun.